Hello and welcome to Generally Speaking. Today is Monday, September 15th, 2025. I'm a philosophical person. I was in my major in school was philosophy. I sometimes think what it would be like as a young person and on any different part of the earth, up in the cold frozen spots or the hot humid dry spots or the dry and humid. Now, there's not such a thing as that. But okay, so the humid spots and the dry spots, the jungles, the prairies, just being a young person and 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, lunchtime, having a little snack, sitting down, taking a break. Such differences all of these young people would be experiencing, and yet in so many ways, similarities. Perhaps looking up at the clouds, seeing the same sky, the same clouds, yet so different, so far apart in their cultures and everything, but yet sharing a lot of similarities. Let's get philosophical about life. Tick tock, tick tock. The seconds go by. How was your day? Most people's days have a lot of similarities. Every morning you get up, go through the same steps, go through the same environment, get the same foods, get ready to do the same things. Don't think much about it. It's the day. We're alive, going doing what we're doing. You don't think about it. But yet every day is another taking away of the limited amount of life that you are given when you start. I think when I get gas in my car, it's very funny. The gas goes down, it gets near empty sometimes. Now, I never get like that. I learned my lesson once. If it gets down to a quarter tank, that's too small for me. But, it can get down to empty, right? You're going, oh no, I better get some gas. Hurry, get some gas, fill up the tank, and there it is full. Oh, you're so happy. Now you can go anywhere. You can go here, you can go there, you go here and there. You can go wherever you want. It's a new lease on life. And that's what it's like when you put gas in your car. When you're near the end, you empty, you're going to die. The end of life. Fill it up. Rejuvenated, you're young, you're like a baby again. It doesn't happen in real life, though. It's us walking around. People, you need to enjoy the day, assuming you can. We're all in different conditions. Some people are in worse conditions than others, but some people are in good conditions and yet manage to find all the bad things. And some people are in really bad positions and yet still manage to look on the good things there. So you should appreciate your life. I hope you're appreciating yours. I hope you think about today. You're watching me right now. This is one of your good moments. Think about that. Sit back a moment. You know what? This is one of my Bill, thank you for letting me think about that. And remember my last video. Did you call your mom? Did you say I love your mom? I hope so. So, there we go for little philosophical wanderings. That's why you watch me, because I have such interesting things. So, what we doing? Charlie Kirk, still in the news. I wasn't going to say any more about him, but I just had a comment on one of his comments um, about women that if they get raped, they're lying. What more do you need to say? Okay, investors are continuing to turn away from the dollar, going more to the renminbi. That's the Chinese denomination. And there we go. I'm being quick on a lot of these things now. All right, the Houthis in Yemen. I was just watching another spokesperson declaring, we're going to retaliate for Israel's, killing our prime minister and the cabinet. And he's going on and on. And again, my usual spiel where every other word is throwing in God was with us and may God help us. But he's given this speech like he's a preacher or some politician. And if we get all this, and we'll do that, and the other thing will happen. And why do people have to talk like that? I mean, I guess in a way it's almost appropriate. If I was standing in front of a platform, a podium, speaking now, I still wouldn't speak like that. I've seen a lot of people that I like, political people, and everybody. Yes, you do have to get a little emphatic, but that one was he was going just a little too crazy. The Arab world, as long as we're talking about the Houthis, they're starting to come together. Like put aside differences, more or less. because of what Israel did to Qatar. And not just that, but they also tried to mess around with Egypt. More going in there and killing people they think need to be taken out. And now with this Qatar thing, and Egypt is now saying if Israel tries, if they try one more anything, it's war. It's war. And so now the Arab states, the Saudis, the Egyptians, and the Qataris, and the Dubaians, and the Emirates, they're coming together, and then not just the Arabs and as different states, but the the different Muslim sects. You got the Sunnis and so I'm not good on my Islam, right? But even them, they're all trying to get a little more. Let's not think about our differences because we've got Israel. So that's what Israel's doing to that. All right, let's go to back to the United States. Lisa Cook on the Federal Reserve Board, and Trump trying to kick her out so he can get more people to do what he wants to lower the reserve rate, the interest rate, which looks like will happen anyway, just because the jobs reports are coming out so bad. But anyway, there was a big to do. Yeah, we can get rid of her because she claimed two residences as primary, which a primary residence gets better tax benefits. And she said two of them were you can only claim one. Number one, first of all, if you want to point to this as some kind of an issue, there are issues for which a person can be removed from the Federal Reserve Board, but they've got to be issues that are related to the Federal Reserve work and that occurred during the time that the person is working at the Federal Reserve Board. These home loan requests were before she was working for the board. That's number one. But number two, they're false. That did not happen. So, any rate, there's a little issue with that. I don't know if that was so worthy of talking, but I wrote it down. There it is. All right, Elon Musk. He's telling the Brits, the British, that they need to dissolve Parliament and fight back or die. I was watching his spiel for just a few minutes, and it was one of those things where he never really said anything except, yeah, we've got to fight. We got to take things back. Back from what? Fight for what? There wasn't any saying anything except that burn, baby, burn. Take things down. Fight back or die. The left is the party of murder. So, they keep saying the left's a party of murder, but we're not even saying these things. And that's what he's saying. There's so many instances of the right being the ones, doing the instigating, doing the threatening. I'm not going to say there aren't any comments from the left, but they don't go as far as the right. So, what do we got? Brian Kilmeade, a Fox host, and there was a conversation going on about the homeless and what to do with them, and in particular, what about the ones who are mentally troubled, and you can't hardly talk to them because they're incoherent, and you want to try to help them. Listen, come with us to a rehab facility. We've got some meds for you, and they're just kooky, and they're no, get away from me, get away from me. And what do you do with these people? And Kilmeade just blurts it out. Yeah, just give them lethal injections. Kill them. And of course, that's probably the worst thing you could say. Anybody could say if you want to get pushback. And that went like right over everybody's heads on that panel. No one said a thing, no one noticed it, but people noticed it. And he had to apologize. He said, listen, I said something wrong. I didn't really mean that. I shouldn't have said it. But then we're talking about, hey, he should be fired. He should be fired. And what's the reason for saying for this? Now, I might give him some grace, say that was definitely the wrong thing to say. But, sometimes people say things without thinking, because they're part of the group, that group mentality. When they're all in a certain mindset, you end up in that mindset. I don't know if I should give them any grace or not, but I tend to like to give people grace as much as I can. So any rate, people aren't wanting to give him grace. And here's some justification for it, because how many people on the left have actually been fired for saying anything about, well, Charlie Kirk, he wasn't the best person in the world, and they got fired. And there was one woman who got fired only for posting what he said. That, and she was a black woman, so she posted a comment about black women that he said how they're mentally inferior to white men, and the only way they can get a job is by stealing a white man's slot. She just posted that, and she got fired. Right, so now we've got Brian Kilmeade saying people should get lethal injections and killed. So should he be allowed to even still be on there? Now, one of my favorite commenters, guy on Legal AF, Michael Popak, he was saying this does, legally speaking, come under criminal law, crime. It's a criminal crime, the criminal kind. And so, and he cited one, two, three different laws immediately that, especially as a commenter on a public news station, which, gives different kind of impact to these crimes as opposed to someone just in the street saying something. And I'm curious to see what will happen to him. I have a feeling nothing, but you never know. All right. So, speaking of these poor homeless people, I was listening to one of the homeless who suffered the consequences of the authorities, dealing with the homeless in their kind and just way by just running through, tearing up their encampments and ripping everything apart. And okay, it's certainly bad that they're telling these people, "Oh, you get out of here," and they've got no place to go. But just well, get out of this spot. You go someplace and we'll deal with you later. Meanwhile, get out of here. That's bad enough. But they just take all their stuff. So you've got, very few personal remainings left, is what you can carry. And they just swept them all up. There goes my license. There goes my bank account. There goes my proof of anything I have that I'm somebody who has anything. You know, police authorities in this state, in this country, are really bad. The British are so nice with their police. They're so respectable. Not here. The whole authority structure is thuggish. It really is thuggish. There are some good police. It's really gotten funny. It used to be there are some bad apples, but most are good. I'm starting to feel the other way around. Most of them are bad. I still don't think most of them are bad. I think most of them are average. They're just normal. But I'm now thinking there's not just a few rotten apples. I think there's a good couple of trees that are bad, and whole police precincts and stations, and police town sheriff's offices, being very bad. And I'll have a story about one of those coming up. So Utah governor. Do I want to get? Nope. I got to do Boebert first. All right, Lauren Boebert of Beetlejuice fame, having fun in the theater. She proposed an amendment. She wanted to add it to the military appropriations budget. I can't stand that they have these adding stuff to other stuff. I think Congress should vote on a thing and not have anything else attached to it. Anyway, she wanted to add something. And what was that? She wants to have penalties to anyone who gets involved in boycotting Israel for political reasons, implying that there are other reasons that would be acceptable to boycott Israel. But if it's just purely political, you don't like what Israel is doing, that's no good. You should suffer consequences, which this consequences weren't specified, but just that whole idea is offensive. And actually, the fact of the matter is that these impacts, these some things that are done to people trying to boycott Israel are already in place. The federal government already has rules that they won't have any dealings with anyone who tries to boycott. All right, so they're not doing anything personally to the companies. Just saying, you want to do business with us, you can't boycott Israel. But now she wants to extend it out to people that the country has no dealings with. Just if you're boycotting them, we ought to punish you. Why? Why does she have to introduce something like this? Okay, well, she's paid by APAC. Listen, okay, suppose you are paid by APAC. Suppose you're on their money. Do you still have to go out of your way to look to make trouble? I mean, APAC would be perfectly happy as long as you always voted to give Israel money. Money, just keep that money flowing. That's all they really care about. But you want to go and make matters worse, maybe she'll get more money. Maybe that's the whole idea. I'm not sure about that. All right, let's go back to the state of Utah where Charlie Kirk was killed. And a statement by the governor there, the Utah governor, who was praying that the assassin, this is before they found him, would be a foreigner or someone from out of state and not one of us. Now, why? Why? What difference would it make? Well, it shows that one of us, it can't be bad. Listen, everybody can be bad except me. Well, I can be a little bad sometimes. Uh, can't think of anything right now, but yeah, praying that it's not one of us. Well, too bad it was. How about that, right? So, this little side note: coffee and steak prices are going up. And I can't say that I've noticed this. I'll tell you, when I go shopping, I don't even know the price of any food. Let's First of all, it's not like they come with their price stamped on it. There's a little sticker on the shelf that might say what it is. Sometimes it's next to three other stickers. You don't know which applies to which, and you don't even know how the pricing is. Is it price per ounce, price per pound? Is it price per item? And so many times you can't even tell. I don't know. But this person was saying coffee and beef prices are going up. Why? Because a lot of those come from Brazil, which Trump decided to put a big tariff on. Why? For trade reasons? No, because they're prosecuting a friend of his, Javier Bolsonaro, who was accused of trying to overthrow in a military coup their government. And so Trump's putting a tariff on that, and now consumers are paying more for coffee and beef because of that. I'm surprised really about the beef. I thought this country was big on beef. We always see Western movies, and there's always thousands of cattle roaming the prairies. I thought we had beef up the behind, but apparently we still get beef from Brazil and from other wares. This whole international trade thing. I understand international trade if you're trying to get something you don't have. But when you have it, why are you getting it from somewhere else? Especially, it kills me with the produce, the vegetables, the fruits. We supposedly have in the ground of California the most beautiful, the greatest growing environment you could possibly have. Just throw any seed on the ground there, and you'll have an orchard. You'll have a farm will show up, and yet everything I find is from Chile, from Mexico, from Peru. I wonder what if you go down there, if you see all the fruits from USA. I mean, that would just be crazy. Any rate, so that's coughing that. 13 people have died in ICE custody. And these are usually from medical issues because they don't allow them to have their medications. And then, okay, you don't have them, but look, I'm having a heart attack. Get me to the doctor. No, that doesn't happen. Now, you know what really kills me is, first of all, someone died. If that was your friend, if it was you, of course, if it's you, you're not going to complain. But if you're sitting back alive thinking if it was you, you can complain. Nobody's held accountable. This is the horrible thing when you got big organizational structures. Something happens within the organization. Well, is it the officer on duty? Is it the person in charge of the officer crew? Is it the person in charge of the building? Is it the person in charge of this? And I don't know, it's that. And who could be the other one? Nobody gets charged for someone died. Someone's dead, and no one gets charged. It's disgusting. Oh, another ICE roundup. A parent was dropping off their student, and they get detained by unmarked anythings. These guys come around with no identification. Cars have no identification. And the people are asking, are you the police? Who are you? Don't say a thing. Don't say a thing. We don't have to tell you anything, and we don't want to tell you anything. That's what I'm saying. They're thuggish. The authorities in this country are thuggish. I see so many police stories. I'll have a police story for you later where the person says, what's going on, officer? What am I stopping? I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later. And they never tell them. Why can't they tell them right now? Thugs, thugs, thugs. All right. Polyester. Am I up to polyester? Yes. Polyester. This wonderful fabric that is so convenient because you don't have to grow anything. You can just spit it out from a chemical machine. Well, this produces so many microplastics that you inhale, you swallow just because the air's around you. It gets into your skin that it's a horror. And who would think about that? Polyester, the shirts. Let's go back to nature. Let's have cotton, nice Egyptian cotton. I don't know what's good about Egyptian cotton, but I love the sound of it. Egyptian cotton. All right, so here's my police story. The police go to a house to get someone, the wrong house. Okay, listen, it happens, right? You should really double check that you're in the right house. But even if the dispatcher sends you to the wrong house, it's not the cop's fault. But at any rate, they go there and they don't announce who they are. They start banging on the door, banging on the door. The man inside, his garage door is open, it's half open, and he sees these people outside. He pulls out his gun. The police see a man with a handgun, and they say, and they shoot him. They shoot him in the leg, and the person finally he notices the sheriff badges, the police badges. So he throws the gun down. The police tell him, "Get on the ground." He gets on the ground. All right, now after he's on the ground, they fire some more shots into the garage. I don't know what they were about, but the man has a family. Those bullets, they just go through this. These walls are made of nothing. They could have killed anybody in the house. But all right. So listen, it was all a mistake. They arrested the guy. They definitely arrested him. They went in the house. He had a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old children. They put handcuffs on them. These crazy stories, the cops, I've heard them put handcuffs on a 6-year-old. Putting handcuffs on a 6-year-old? These are the cops who need to be fired. So, all right, all of this is horrible enough. He finally gets out. I'm going to sue you. But the police aren't done being crazy yet. They're going to sue him. They want to charge him with a reckless endangerment. With what was it? I have the words here. Charged with aggravated assault. Now he didn't assault anyone. He had his gun at the ready, but he didn't assault anyone. And besides, they never announced himself, and they're going to charge him with this craziness. All right, what other? The Hyundai factory in Georgia, where some crazy Republican Karen called ICE about there are illegal immigrants in there. And she was trying to justify herself later on about how, it wasn't even just the fact that there were illegals in there. It was the conditions, how they're treated. They're abused because, they can't complain or they'll get deported. So they just have to accept the fact that they get paid next to nothing. They get worked to death, unbelievable hours, and they get housed, all 15 of them, in one little bathroom. And so it's not just the illegally being there, the conditions. I'm a good person. I'm doing the right thing, and so the ICE goes there. This is a factory being built by Hyundai from South Korea, and in conjunction with another South Korean company. This is a factory that's going to make batteries for EV cars that are also produced by Hyundai. Also, Hyundai, not too far away, the batteries will go into the cars. So they go there, and the subpoena or the warrant is for 4 Latinos. And meanwhile, they go in and they arrest 400 people. And practically the whole place is being taken away. 400, around 390 of them are South Korean workers. Now, are they in the situation that this woman was describing? No, these are high paid, high level engineers that are here to install equipment that the Americans don't know anything about, don't have any skills with. They're here to show them how these things are put together, how you use them. And then when you're all good with this, we're going back to South Korea. We had a nice time here. We got paid a good amount of money to come to the US to do this. We go back. But not now they all got arrested. And not just arrested because we have this wonderful police force. They get put in those chain things where they go around your wrists and a chain goes down to your ankles and you get shuffled off and they get brought to a detention center where they described it as horrible. Had these mattresses, these moldy mattresses on the floor with no heating, air conditioning. The food was so bad they didn't even want to eat it. They were insulted all the time, had guns being pointed at them. And South Korea hears about this and goes ballistic. The president calls our president. What is going on? Get these people out of there. I can't believe this is even happening. So this took place on September 4th. I'm reporting this September 15th. So what's that? 10 days, 11 days later. They've been in that condition for 11 days. And South Korea sends a plane. They send one of their own jumbo jets, to take all these people back. And they come back to Korea, and there's whole crowds protesting the U.S. and Trump, and they're talking about, I'm not going back. I'm not going back. Yeah, well, maybe some of my colleagues might because they want the money. They need the money. And but at any rate, the big to do. And what's more is the whole plant, like I said, was only being worked in by the South Koreans until the Americans could take over. And how many Americans? 8,000, 8,500. This was going to be huge. This is like a billions of dollar plant that's going to bring out so much money to the area. And this woman is like just, stabbing it to death. So all production there is halted now. Everything that's going on, and it's not just there now. South Korea is wondering, what about all of our other employees? And all these 22 other companies shut down while they all think about this and consider what's going on. So all the people that worked in these companies in all these different towns, they suddenly are now losing pay. And South Korea is thinking about maybe we shouldn't invest anymore. Now, this particular plant, we're talking billions of dollars, and it was supposed to support the electric vehicle cars. I can't imagine them shutting this down. I can imagine them wanting to, but I don't think that's going to happen. At any rate, that's this wonderful woman felt she had a sticker nose. She's a Karen with a capital K. I think she's the definition of Karen. And can you believe it? She's running for senator from Georgia. She wants to become the senator. And I was talking with my wife saying, well, I guess she lost that position. And she told me, oh, don't bet on her. Remember, you didn't think Trump could possibly win. And, that is so true. I've seen these polls about Trump on the economy, Trump on this, Trump on that. Where does he stand? 30%, 20%, down, 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 underwater. Everybody hating everything that he's doing. And then I see this other poll. If you had to choose between Kamala or Trump, who would you vote for now? Trump, Trump, Trump. Who would you vote for now, a Democrat or a Republican? Republican, Republican, Republican. The disconnect is mind-boggling, just mind-boggling. That's the disconnect. Now, if you made it this far, God bless you. I hope you subscribed. I hope you liked and hit the notify bell. And I enjoyed making this. I hope you enjoyed watching it. You have a wonderful life.